Back to the subject at hand. Let us say it plainly before we begin to argue with it or decorate it. You have been looking for God where God cannot be found, inside the workshop of thought. The mind can recite truth, argue truth, defend truth, and it can win the debate, and still it will never touch God. Do you see that? The mind can quote scripture and compose the most excellent affirmations. It can discipline itself to watch, to correct, to counter every negative with a positive. And in the end, it may grow very clever and very tired. But it will not find peace. Because peace is not the child of thought. God isn't mind. God isn't even soul. Nobody knows what God is. And because God is not an object that mind can take hold of, the mind cannot lay hands upon God, cannot grasp, cannot control, cannot manufacture God contact. You have labored long in the fields of self-help and mental management. Lists, journals, morning routines, evening inventories, positive thinking, affirmations on the mirror and in the phone. And the fruit you harvest is a kind of exhaustion that masquerades as spirituality. You have tried to think your way out of fear, and think your way into joy, and think your way into peace, and the very instrument you have employed is the one that cannot deliver. The treadmill is not broken, it is simply a treadmill. It moves, you sweat, the scenery never changes. All right, you see? Now hear this, with love, but without compromise. As long as you expect thought to produce peace, you will live under the lash of measurement. You will check the gauge of your feelings hour by hour. You will monitor appearances, health, money, relationships, headlines, waiting to see if your mental work has worked. And you will react. Because the mind's hidden assignment is not to bring you to God. The mind's assignment is to protect appearances, to preserve its pictures, to corroborate its own conclusions. It starts the fire and then offers to drive the fire engine. So let me take a crutch from you gently but firmly. We are not going to trust mental control, not even spiritual mental control. We are not going to attempt to bend appearances by stronger thoughts, holier words, or more virtuous arguments. We are not going to turn to God to make something happen to something, because the moment we do, we have made God an instrument of mind, a hired power to arrange our pictures. Don't do it. Never enter the chase for better appearances through thought, for thought begets reaction, and reaction enthrones the very realm from which peace is absent. This is the shock. Then comes the relief. If God is not mind, then you are free from the slavery of thinking your way into grace. You are free from counting, comparing, scrubbing your consciousness as if purity were a product of effort. You are free to stop watching the dial. And in that freedom, a new expectancy is born. Not the expectancy of a managed result, but the quiet certainty that what mind cannot do, God is. Now, do you see the stake we have set in the ground? As long as you seek peace by thought, you must keep measuring appearances. When you cease, you begin to withdraw authority from them. And that, my friends, is the doorway we will walk through together. Now let us put a yardstick in your hand, not to condemn you, but to clarify where you are standing. Faith, your faith, my faith, is shown by one thing alone: our reaction to appearances. When the email arrives with the figure lower than you expected, when the body reports with a symptom, when a voice criticizes, when delay inserts itself where you had a timetable, when a headline screams danger, what happens in you in the first breath, the second, the third? Do you tighten? Do you plan? Do you begin to compose an argument with reality? That is your measure. not your affirmations, not the teachings you can recite, not the theological sophistication you have acquired. Faith is seen in whether you react to the picture or whether something deeper than the mind holds you still. All right, do you see? The mind, left to its own office, reacts first, and then baptizes its reaction with spiritual language. It analyzes, calls a meeting in your head, draws up charts, labels causes and effects, and then sprinkles a little scripture over it to make it respectable. It diagnoses in pious tones. It plans with a halo. It prays to change the picture. It fasts as strategy. It quotes truth as leverage. But the intent is unchanged: to protect appearances, to preserve the picture it prefers, to avoid the picture it fears. The mind starts the argument and then appears at the bench to judge the case. And you, if you are not awake, will take that as spirituality. Do not be fooled. Reaction crowned with holy words is still reaction. The vestments do not transfigure the motive. So hear the discipline that sets us free. Don't react. Don't fight the picture. Don't fear it. Don't love it. Don't hate it. Don't side with it because it flatters you. Don't oppose it because it threatens you. Let the picture be a picture, without granting it law, authority, or finality. Non-reaction is not passivity. It is the refusal to enthrone the picture as power. It is the quiet inner word that says, "Be not afraid, it is I," while nothing has yet changed on the surface. It is not a technique you perform. It is evidence that a government not of this world is already operative in you. When you do not flinch, you are not proving your willpower. You are revealing that mind is not running the house. Now someone says, "But should I do nothing?" No. You should do nothing humanly until you are no longer reacting. That is the order. As long as you are heated, hurried, measuring, advising, you have entered the case as a person armed with opinions, and you have enthroned the very level that cannot reveal God. Wait. Withhold your human commentary. Refuse to tell yourself or another what should happen. Refuse to solve. This is sacred restraint. This is the first practice. Stand still within until the storm of mind subsides. Then, if there is to be an action, it will not be a reaction. It will be an arising. You see the difference? If, in honesty, you find yourself reacting, good, you have learned something. You have discovered who has been on the throne. Do not condemn yourself. Simply step back, take your hands off the appearance, and be still. Let the picture lose its borrowed power by your non-cooperation. We are on the middle path when we neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance. From there, we will not enter the case humanly. We will wait for that other government to speak, and when it speaks, there will be nothing in us rushing to make it so. There will only be the quiet authority of what already is. Now we come to the doorway, where most of our spirituality has tripped and fallen. The moment a friend, a child, a client says, "What should I do?" And your mind, well-schooled and sincere, rushes to draw a map. Don't do it. Never enter the case humanly. Never permit yourself to give human advice as if you were the power that could arrange outcomes. The mind longs to be helpful, to be wise, to be the savior of the day, and the very impulse feels virtuous. But the moment you take that seat, you enthrone mind, and mind cannot reveal God. All right, do you see? A daughter calls, "Mother, he has done me wrong. Should I leave?" A business partner writes, "They're cheating us. How do we fight?" A body signals a symptom. What is the protocol? And there you are with your arsenal, books, principles, precedent, even a sprinkling of scripture. And the temptation is to fix, to strategize, to take sides with the wounded, the righteous, the aggrieved, or even with what you call prudence. But the instant you advise as a person to a person about a picture, you make the picture central. You make the personalities authoritative. You make the problem personal and therefore powered. You have agreed there is a power apart from God in the field, and now you must wrestle it. That is the trap. The discipline is restraint. Listen, yes. Be present, yes. Let your heart be soft to the cry, yes. But inwardly withdraw your hands. Refuse the impulse to manipulate the chessboard, to improve the appearance, to win for your side. Do not rush to opinion. Do not rush to tactics. Do not rush to comfort with promises you cannot keep. Sit there as a witness to principle, and let the thunder of reaction roll past without your voice joining it. Let there be a pause. Sometimes it is a breath, sometimes it is an hour, sometimes it is a night watch, until the inner government utters itself. If there is to be speech, let it not be human counsel. Let it be the gentle redirection to stillness. Let us be quiet. Be not afraid. It is I. Someone will say, but isn't no advice unloving? No. Human advice is often a subtle unfaith, a confession that God requires our diagrams to function. We are not abandoning our brother. We are refusing to feed his fear with our cleverness. We are guarding the sanctuary from the entrance of personalities. And in that quiet, you will find that many cases evaporate because they were only drafts of universal belief seeking your agreement. And those that remain will reveal a next step without debate. Not to secure a victory for a side, but to bear witness to harmony already present. Let your allegiance be to principle, not to personalities, not even to the personality you call my wise mind. For if you stop taking sides outwardly and then take a side inwardly, good mind over bad mind, wise thought over foolish thought, you are still enthroning mind. Drop both. Neither fear, love, nor hate any thought. Never enter the case humanly. Stand back within until the split second of silence steals in, and when it does, you will know that whatever follows is not your doing and not your defense. It is the arising of what is, and there is no one left in you needing to make it so. All right, now that we have learned to withhold advice, let us go further and withdraw the very fuel that keeps appearances alive. Taking sides. Wherever you look today, marriage strain in a kitchen whispering, "Whose fault is this?" A workplace dispute where management and team draw up affidavits of righteousness. An online outrage where the multitudes cry, "Pick a hero, pick a villain." Mind is at table demanding you choose. It insists there must be a good side and a bad side. It must have your sympathy or your condemnation, because reaction is the food on which appearances feed. Do you see that? The moment you take a side, you enter the arena as a personality, and you lend the appearance your breath. Principle over personalities. This is the freedom. You are not dealing with a good side and a bad side. You are dealing with an appearance asking for your reaction. And if it gets your reaction, your pity, your outrage, your clever fix, it has received a donation of power from you. So I say to you, lovingly and without compromise, don't give it. Don't even give your good outrage, your holy pity. Refuse to judge. Refuse to defend. Refuse to correct until that inner hush bears witness. When you stop taking sides, you stop feeding the appearance with personal power. Someone says, "But surely we must defend the innocent, correct the record, guard our reputation." No, principle needs no bodyguard. Christ is the only identity. When that is even slightly realized, just a mustard seed of it, the whole contest dies out of you. You look at husband and wife, foreman and crew, influencer and critic, and you no longer see two selves wrestling for supremacy. You see one life appearing as many, and you refuse to enthrone a private rightness. The need to win dissolves because the one has nothing to win from itself. Be not afraid. It is I. Now watch the subtler snare, taking your own side. You do not post the rant, you do not slap the wrist, but inwardly you clutch your story. I was misrepresented. I must defend my progress. I cannot let this diagnosis be questioned. I have done so much spiritual work. I must not look like I'm slipping. That is still personality kneeling before personality. Mind protecting mind. Drop it. Let your reputation be handled where it was born, in God. Let your diagnosis be as breath on a mirror. There a moment, gone. Let your spiritual progress be none of your business. If the one that engaged you wants to lose, that's his business. Your interest is only in bringing forth a spiritual activity, not a personal victory. As you refuse sides, a deeper question will try to frighten you. Then what is animating all this fear, this sickness, this conflict, if not these persons? Good. That question is the doorway. It is seldom personal at all. Behind the costumes stands an impersonal universal belief pretending to be law. Contagion, lack, guilt, opposition, seeking a reaction. And the moment you decline to feed it, you will begin to feel the floor of silence under your feet. And you will be ready to meet not persons, but the belief itself, without granting it power. Let me name it now so you can stop fighting shadows. Universal belief. Not your private sin, not your neighbor's malice, not a secret curse. You are confronting impersonal hypnotism, the accepted assumptions moving through the race mind that parade as law. Contagion is one. Drafts causing colds, seasons demanding sniffles, headlines forecasting a wave, and the body obediently rehearsing the script because the world has nodded and said, "Of course." Heredity is another. In our family, the back goes at 45, the mind at 70. And so the calendar becomes a tyrant and the bloodline a prophecy. Scarcity. The market will punish. The algorithm will bury you. There isn't enough attention, enough love, enough oxygen for me. Rejection. If they unfollow, I am less. If they don't answer, I am unsafe. Stress is a popular god. Make it universal, call it inevitable, and then kneel before it as the explainer of ulcers, tempers, and sleepless nights. Do you see how easily the crowd's belief dresses itself as fact? Now hear the liberating sentence you must learn to say in the first breath. This has nothing to do with this person. This has nothing to do with me as a person. This is a universal belief presenting itself for my agreement. The moment you make it personal, you fight ghosts with your fists. The moment you depersonalize it, the ghost cannot borrow your breath. We are not blaming. We are not excusing. We are withdrawing the only fuel error has, your belief that it has a law to support it. Infection and contagion have no law to support them. Lack has no law to support it. Stress is not law. It is suggestion. Heredity is not law. It is memory. There is only one law and only one power, and it is not moving through a mind-made decree to torment its own appearing. All right, do you see that? How then do we deal with it? Not by struggle, not by arguing with the picture, not by shouting truth at it as if volume were power. We recognize, we quietly know. This is impersonal belief. It has no cause in God. Therefore, it has no authority over God's manifestation. Right now, I nullify any seeming effect of universal belief, not by power, not by resistance, but by withdrawing recognition. Be still. Be not afraid. It is I. Let the mind's wind run out of itself, while you stand on the floor of silence that is never disturbed. If there is a symptom in the body, do not adopt it as your identity. Let it knock on an empty house. If there is a fear in the atmosphere, do not call it my panic. Feel it pass like weather, while you remain the sky. You will notice how the mind resents this, because universal belief gives the mind employment. Manage the germ, preempt the stress, monitor the feed, outthink the trend, rehearse the family fate, construct the counterspell. The mind loves universals because they authorize endless strategies. But we are finished with that servitude. We are not adding a shinier technique to the pile. We are withdrawing the crown from mind altogether. Look the belief in the face without granting it power, and then retire from thought into that split second where God alone is the fact. Nobody, by taking thought, can contact God, and nobody, by taking thought, can break a hypnotism. Silence breaks it. In that inner hush, universal belief has no audience, no stage, no script, and it collapses, not because you conquered it, but because you declined to be its actor. Now we come to the great replacement, without which all of this would be fine talk and no transformation. Truth stated by mind is not God contact. It may steady your nerves for an hour. It may give you a noble vocabulary. It may keep you from panic. And I am not despising that. But mind reciting truth is still mind in charge. And God is not mind. Do you see? You can quote the finest passages. You can proclaim one power until your throat is dry. And yet if the authority remains with thought, reaching, insisting, repeating, you have not touched the spring. You have arranged the furniture of the room and never opened the window. Here is the paradox that will save you. You may forget all the truth you ever knew and be nearer to God than when you can quote it perfectly. You may drop the whole ladder of right statements and in that very moment be held. Why? Because nobody, by taking thought, can contact God. There must come a split second in which thought stops reaching, stops insisting, stops polishing its doctrine, and in that instant a hush opens of itself. Not a hush you make, not a vacancy you construct by force, but a yielding of mental authority so complete that something other speaks. Be still, be not afraid. It is I. Now do not mistake what I am saying. Silence is not an achievement. It is not emptiness as a goal, not dissociation, not a mood you work up with candles or playlists. It is receptivity. It is the door left unlatched when the householder ceases to shout orders from the window. It is the inner ear unblocked, the inner mouth closed, the inner shoulders unclenched. It is the stopping for a breath of the private insistence that you must do, must know, must fix. In that breath, authority leaves the mind and rests where it has always belonged. And when it does, peace does not have to be produced. It arrives. Because peace is never absent. It is only drowned by the machinery of thought. All right, expect resistance. The mind fears unemployment. It will offer you one more brilliant statement, one more analysis baptized in pious tones, one more holy push to get the outcome you prefer. Decline politely. Let the next thought pass unendorsed. Let the urge to conclude linger outside without a signature. Wait. Not nervously, quietly. Sometimes that split second comes like a feather falling. Sometimes after a long watch in the night when the wind of thinking tires of itself. And when it comes, there is a click. Not fireworks, not ecstasy, just the felt absence of strain, the sense that you are no longer leaning. In that simple not leaning, universal belief has no audience, personalities have no court, and appearances lose their borrowed voice. I within you do the works. Not your sentence, not your vigor. I. From this point on, our work changes. We are not improving our truth statements. We are surrendering their throne. We are not trying to hold a silence as if it were a thing. We are letting silence hold us, while we refuse to supply the mind with its usual diet of conclusions. And because the mind does not enjoy losing its crown, we will have to learn how to endure the discomfort of not knowing, how to sit without props until that click is given. This is why we shall speak of prayer and fasting, not as manipulation, but as the gentle starving of mental control, the loving refusal to feed the old king until the true government is felt again, and again, and again. Now we speak of the tool that is not a tool, the practice that is not a practice, prayer and fasting. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting is not an order to hunger strike your way into God, nor to intone longer, louder, craftier words at the sky. It is the instruction to withdraw the feed from mental control. Some problems persist not because they are mighty, but because we keep nourishing them with our brilliant management. Opinions, timelines, rehearsals, explanations. We argue for God. We argue with the devil. We argue with ourselves. And the argument itself is their supper. Prayer and fasting remove the supper tray. Fasting first. Not food, unless you are so led. I mean the inner abstinence that starves the mind of its cravings. Fast from opinions, yours and theirs. Fast from outcomes, yours and theirs. Fast from mental rehearsals, the conversation you will have, the answer you will deliver, the justification you will compose. Fast from the addiction to explanation. Why this is happening, what it means, what lesson it proves. Fast from checking, symptom checking, balance checking, approval checking. Each check is a tiny donation of power to appearance. Let the urge rise. Let it pass without your signature. Never enter the case humanly. Keep your mouth closed on the inside, even if it opens kindly on the outside. You are not withholding love. You are refusing to feed the picture. Prayer now. Prayer is not requesting from God. It is resting in God. Do not turn to God for something. Turn from mind toward God. Close the corridor where thoughts parade with their banners and take no seat in their reviewing stand. Be still. Sit in the unargued fact that God is, that I, in the midst of thee, am mighty, and decline to add one syllable to make it so. If a sacred sentence rises, let it rise and fall without your clutching it, as a bell tolls and then the air returns to silence. Prayer is consent, not command. Communion, not control. Nobody by taking thought can contact God. And you see, nobody by taking thought can persuade God either. Sometimes, after minutes or hours or a watch in the night, when the machinery of thinking grows tired of itself, there comes that click, the lightest hand on the inner shoulder, the unleaning, the burden that was never yours dropping from a grip you no longer maintain. Not ecstasy, usually. Presence. A sense of being met rather than managing. Be not afraid, it is I. I, within you, do the works. And you know, without proof, without plan, that the government has shifted. All right, here is the bridge you must cross without looking down. After the click, the appearance may stand there unchanged, as brazen as before. Do not run back to mind to measure, to peck at the fruit every hour to see if it is sweet yet. Don't judge your demonstration day by day. Keep the fast. Refuse the old diet of scrutiny and control. Stay in the prayer that rests rather than requests. Let maturity bring to light. In this way, you do not refuel the picture. You abide in the government that already is, and the appearance, starved of your endorsement, must yield in its own unhurried way to what has always been true. Now let us take up the clock, for the mind has another trick to keep you in its jurisdiction: monitoring. After the click, it prowls the house, peeking into every room. How is the symptom now? What is the number in the account now? Has that person softened now? Do I feel spiritual right now? Each check is a small gasp of reaction. Each tally is a vote cast for the appearance's power. Don't look at your demonstration day by day. Don't peel the fruit while it is green. Don't pluck the bud to smell a rose not yet opened. Don't lift the seed from its dark cradle to see if it is working. You see, life is at work beneath where fingers cannot reach and where eyes cannot supervise. And your watching contributes nothing but heat to the soil. Take the fruit tree in your garden. The sap does not file weekly reports. Branches are not managed by memos. Yet by a rhythm older than your calendars, bud, blossom, and fruit appear. Maturity brings to light. If you meddle, if you prune with anxiety, if every day you tug at the twig to hasten sweetness, you do not help, you injure. So with your demonstration. That inner hush, that click, has set a lawless law in motion. No human decree started it, and no human pressure will improve it. Let God have its perfect work. Scripture knows this rhythm. Saul of Tarsus met a light that blinded his old seeing, but he did not start a ministry the next afternoon. He did not publish a report the next month. The story hints, and history corroborates, that nearly 9 years passed before he went out, and even then letters came slowly, authority growing not by hurry, but by hidden rooting. Do you suppose that those years were idle? No, they were seed years, unwatched by congregations, untallied by likes, until the tree could bear apostleship without cracking. All right, do you see what that says to us? Transformation is often invisible before it is inevitable. So the instruction is simple and stern. Do your inner work. Withdraw the feed. Rest in God, consent to the hush, and then release the calendar. Be faithful to silence, not to timelines. Keep your appointments with God, not your deadlines for God. If the thought rises, it has been 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. Let that thought pass the way a pigeon passes the window. No invitation, no crumbs. Each non-check is a fast. Each refusal to inspect is a prayer. Let maturity bring to light. And here is the threshold to the next freedom. When you release the timeline, You will notice the outcome's grip loosening too. For if you do not demand when, you will find you need not demand what. The same government that orders the season knows the shape of the fruit. Your interest is not in harvesting a particular picture on a particular day. Your interest is in bearing witness to the spiritual activity already moving. Be still. Be not afraid. It is I. Let God deal with the appearances in God's way, and you will discover the rare peace that does not await proof, because it rests in presence, unhurried, unmeasured, and sure. Now we must face the last thread the mind clutches when the calendar has been surrendered, the picture it prefers. Here is the hidden bargain, admit it or not. I will be still so that this body will recover. I will keep silence so that that person will return. I will rest in God so that this business will prosper. Do you see what has happened? God has been turned into a means to get a human end. The mind has kept the scepter. It has merely agreed to use spiritual methods. That is not freedom. That is refined control. And as long as the mind remains the contractor and God the subcontractor, you will not know peace, for you are still measuring God by the picture on the surface. The radical correction is simple and stern. Your interest is not in forcing harmony by human outlines. Your interest is in bringing forth spiritual activity. That is all. Not this person back in that house. Not that number on that report. Not this symptom erased by tomorrow noon. Spiritual activity. Felt, known, resting, governing. When that becomes your only aim, the strain leaves. The picture is no longer your master. The presence is. Be not afraid. It is I. Let God deal with the appearances in God's way. Apply it where it pinches. A relationship phrase, and everything in you cries, make it mend, today. Sometimes a separation is very spiritual. Let it. If true peace can only flower with distance, do not idolize the picture of togetherness. If you are not willing to leave mother, brother, sister, father for my sake, you see, we do not abandon love. We abandon our image of love. And in that relinquishment, a truer affection, free of possession, may at last be felt. A job evaporates, and the mind demands, "Restore my ladder at once." Perhaps the ladder itself was the idol. Perhaps invisible provision has been waiting behind a door your security would not allow you to open. Don't enter the case humanly. Withdraw the drama, stand still, and let spiritual activity reveal its own form. A health uncertainty rattles the house. Non-reaction is compassion, not indifference. We do not refuse care. We refuse to crown fear as authority. We take the steps that arise without panic or prophecy, and we decline to author a future of dread. Christ is the only identity, and that realization, even as a seed, begins to unwrite the script that universal belief is trying to hand you. Someone asks, but if I don't want a specific outcome, what do I want? You want God. Not God plus recovery. Not God plus reconciliation. Not God plus solvency. God. When the wanting narrows to that single flame, the air clears. Then if recovery arises, it comes unstrained and with no terror of relapse. If reconciliation comes, it is not possession dressed as peace. It is peace. If provision comes, it is not a nervous hoard. It is bread daily given without bondage to barns. Now, how do we live this without turning silence into another project for results? Keep the same gentle fast. Each time the picture tempts you to bargain, I will be quiet if. Let the if fall away. Sit, not as a negotiator, but as a witness. Be still. Consent to the hush for its own sake. Let the thought of outcomes pass the way a cloud passes the mountain. The mountain does not chase the cloud. The mountain stands. Each non-chase is prayer. Each surrendered outline is fasting. And in that simple rhythm, withdrawal of reaction, consent to presence, you will find a freedom so radical you will hardly recognize yourself. The freedom of not needing a specific outcome to be at peace, because peace is already here, and you have stopped telling it what shape to take. Now, how shall we live this without making it another burden tied to your wrist? A timer that says, "Be spiritual now or else." We will not turn grace into a schedule, but we can accept a simple rhythm that carries us when the mind grows tired. Here is the sequence, and you will find it repeats itself many times a day, often in seconds, not hours. First, notice reaction. That little lift in the chest, that heat in the face, that rush to explain, defend, correct. Notice it. Second, stop entering the case humanly. Do not advise inwardly. Do not compose your speech. Do not choose a side, not even your own. Third, recognize the impersonal nature of what is knocking. This is universal belief seeking your agreement. It is not a person with power. Fourth, rest in silence, even if only for a split second. Nobody, by taking thought, can contact God, so stop taking thought for that instant and let the window open. Fifth, release outcome and timing. No bargain, no deadline, just consent to God's government. That is all. And then, if a step arises, take it without drama. If none arises, remain still. All right. Do you see how light that is? Make friends with micro-silences. Before you answer the text, one breath. Before you post the opinion, one breath. Before you diagnose your day or your body, one breath. Before you comfort or correct someone, one breath. That breath is not a technique. It is a refusal to enthrone mind. A split second of non-entry is a whole prayer. A half-inch of inner space is a fast that starves universal belief. You need not retreat to a mountain. The kitchen sink, the elevator, the traffic light are sanctuaries enough. Neither in this mountain nor in Jerusalem, but in spirit and in truth. You see? Now, expect relapse into mental striving. Do not condemn it. When you find yourself checking, fixing, pleading, proving, notice, stop, recognize, rest, release. Begin again. Gentler non-reaction is the measure, not perfect performance. Don't judge your demonstration day by day. Don't judge your spirituality moment by moment either. The tree does not blush because winter holds its branches. It stands, and life has its perfect work. So with you. Each time you refuse to crown a thought as authority, you deepen the groove of grace, and the next refusal comes easier. If a scaffolding helps you, let it be light. In the morning, before the world asks your name, sit a few minutes not to think about God, but to yield to God. At midday, let 3 small pauses interrupt your momentum. At night, fast from inspection. No tallying of progress, no post-mortem of failures. If a night watch is given, accept it kindly. If sleep is given, accept it kindly. Man was not made for the Sabbath. The Sabbath was made for man. The rhythm serves you. You do not serve the rhythm. Now hear the commissioning. Be still. Let Christ's will be done on earth as it is in heaven. on your street as in your heart. Do not argue for truth. Allow truth to announce itself. Let the inner assurance, however light, be the authority, not mental repetition. When the click comes, walk softly in its wake. When it tarries, wait without bargaining. And feel the relief that ends our striving. You do not have to think your way into peace. You can yield into it. As yielding becomes your habit, non-reaction becomes your nature, and the government rests upon His shoulder, not yours. Be not afraid. It is I. Go in quietness and let God have its perfect work.